right, there we are. Every time that intro always ends super abruptly, and then I'm always like, get in. So here we are. Welcome in, everybody. The SquadCast is live. I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and we've got some friends here tonight because old Maxwell Ritz is a little bit busy with some schoolwork. So I brought in the next best thing, if not better, Craig Ballard. Craig Ballard, welcome in, buddy. Don't tell Max I said that.
No, thank you so much. But really important housekeeping distinction right out the gate. I'd hate for everyone tuning in, recognizing Clark, and then thinking, "Oh, good Lord, look at the toll the lockout has taken on Max. He looks terrible." Yeah. So very good distinction. Yes, good distinction. Yes,
it hit him like a truck.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Craig, very special episode tonight because you're co-hosting with me all night long. So, thank you for joining me. Feel free to chime in on the comments all night long and let us know what you want to talk about because this show is more than just me and the co-host, whoever it is. Tonight happens to be Craig, but it's all about you guys as well, the squad. It's literally called the SquadCast, and you are the squad. So thank you for jumping in here tonight. I see that Carlos Legena's checking in from Indianapolis. Welcome in, Carlos. David Rosca's checking in over on YouTube, saying a sentiment that I think a lot of us might agree with today. I know it's not his fault, but we'll get into that in just a minute. He likes the Angels, by the way, so sorry, David. SD McCrawley says, Craig, jumping in on over on YouTube.
All right.
There you go. So we have more people jumping in throughout the night. Please feel free to comment throughout the evening and make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, the share button. And if you're on TikTok, all of it. Just do everything on the screen. There's a lot of things. Do it all. So, Craig, we're going to jump right into it because obviously we can't bury the lead on this one. The biggest news, especially for you and I'm wearing the Blue Jays hat. You're wearing the light powder blue. I got the powder blue on the wall in the background. The MLB lockout. And it happened officially today, but it's been brewing for months, if not years. And we talked about this in the past, even like before the real talks of it were a thing, you and I, or we talked about it on the show. I think we had you on the show the one day. We had that TikTok live that was so awesome. We were talking about the trade deadline. You remember that day when we were talking about Jose Barrios and you were like, well, I hope there's a season next year. So that was, it's been happening for a while, but I guess, Craig, I mean, in your ultimate wisdom and your Shakespearean wording, can you help us break down kind of how this has come to be where we are today?
It's difficult. There's just no doubt about it. Now, things going on in the Ukraine, like there are so many things in life and in our own personal lives that put sports into perspective, right? So let's understand that. We know this is true, but we also know that baseball is a big deal to us. Sports is a big deal to us. We know this. It's our escape. It's our passion. It lives in our hearts. It lives in our soul. This is a big deal for me, for a lot of us right now, missing Blue Jay baseball, to a larger extent, missing baseball. To that Anaheim Angels fan that was there, they are way slept on, by the way. I would love to talk to you about that. Anyway, but yes.
We will talk about that, Craig,
okay,
because
eventually
today, I want to actually just put all of this garbage aside and actually just, for a moment, talk real baseball talk and some free agency stuff and just have some fun. So we will talk about the Angels because I think they could be players coming up, but go on.
The biggest thing I think right now, and maybe I'm very often I'm in the minority. I may well be in the majority when I say this, that I just think it's the uncertainty right now. We have some certainty. The first two series are done. How much more? What are the next dominoes to fall? And that's big picture. Little picture. When are they even getting together again, Clark? When are we even going to see any sort of movement? I'll be totally honest, and I hate to be the Debbie Downer here. I was not moved. I was not excited by what was happening yesterday. For me, 16 hours together, you go back and forth 16 different times. If you really were that close, you don't go to bed that night. If you really were that close, you lock it up after that level of meeting. So I was very concerned. As you said, I've been concerned from day one about this. I always describe it this way, Clark. I know you've heard me say it, but just for our friends here, I always tell people, even if you're not a baseball fan, if you have a sport, any sport, dealer's choice, that is in your heart, that is in your soul, I want you to think of that sport, and I want you to think of the relationship between the owners in that sport and the Players Association in that sport, and tell me about it. And I bet the word contentious is used. I bet they don't trust each other. I bet it's a nightmare. I bet it's a terrible relationship. Major League Baseball owners and Major League Baseball Players Association make all those other sports look like they're holding pinkies, swinging pinkies, skipping down the beach together. They make all these other sports look like they're in harmony. I've never seen a more nightmare relationship than the Players Association and the owners. The most basic things are a snail's pace to get done because neither side trusts the other. And the big reason, Clark, why I saw this coming a mile away is because the 2016 collective bargaining agreement, the one that just expired, baseball fans, if you take your mind's eye back, you'll remember that was very much seen as let's just get this over with so we don't miss any games. So all the major, not categories, topics, they just kicked the can down the road. They just kicked the can down the road. So nothing was solved last time around. Incredibly, over the last 5 years, the players have actually lost money as Major League Baseball has brought in $43 billion. Like, the setup is just absurd. So yes, unfortunately, we did know this was coming. And again, unfortunately, I got nothing but questions. Big picture, when are we back in action? Small picture, when are we even together again negotiating?
Yeah, and I guess if we just kind of look at the last few days as a vacuum, because I think we were talking about this before as like, the last few days, there's a lot that's kind of been exposed and brought to light, and all these things about both sides of the argument and negotiation. But one of the things that we noticed was there was a long period of time where they just either one side refused to meet, they both refused to meet. Maybe there's some clarity that we all need in that, but it sounded to us like the owners kind of said, we're not meeting with you right now. We're just not doing it. The players, then they got together, they had some meetings. It wasn't going well. And then these last few days, it seemed, and maybe this was all just a PR stunt, and we can talk about that with Saverina Scozzari coming up later, PR. But we can talk about maybe it was just all a PR stunt by the owners, by the players. I don't know, but it sounded like they were at least like kind of that attitude you said earlier. Let's just get this done because we just want to get back to ball. And it turns out that wasn't the case, where they did have 16 separate meetings or 16 hours, however you want to classify that, yesterday, into the deep hours of the night. And then this morning, all of a sudden, the owners come out and say, oh, the players changed their tone today, and it doesn't seem like anything we talked about yesterday is on the table anymore. And it's like, okay, is that true? What's true? None of us know what's true. And I think that's what bothers me the most, is that the language in all of this, Craig, just seems like we're being scammed almost as fans. Like, it doesn't feel like we're getting any of the true story. The players are upset. The owners are grumpy, and it seems like they almost don't care. They're nonchalant about it. You saw Manfred in his press conference afterwards laughing at the idea of canceling games. Just not much of it sits right with me. So I guess, where do you sit on that? And maybe this can go into our players versus owners debate. Where are you sitting kind of in that regard?
Devastated, because both sides, certainly the owner's side, both sides are putting at least seemingly more effort into how do we win the public opinion? How do we win in the court of public opinion, rather than how do I get a damn pen and a signature on this damn new CBA? I remember, I thought the first shots were fired a couple months back when Major League Baseball announced that they'd be paying for the minor leaguers' housing. I thought that was the first shot fired in the public opinion, trying to see what we're looking to do for our Major League Baseball. You hear the players; they want to renegotiate everything because they're so worried about the future of the game and the players coming up. Guys, guess what? Us too. And here's what we're doing. Here's a concrete plan to do it. I thought that was smoke and mirrors from day one. As the details of that came out, you could see it wasn't great. It wasn't horrible, let's be honest, but it wasn't great. And it really affirmed to me, okay, that was day one of the shots fired in the court of public opinion. Both sides very much want you to believe that the other side is to blame. I think you and I, and most of us following right now, I think we're on the same page. I know there's a lot of animosity towards one side or the other, but deep down in our heart of hearts, don't we truly believe that both sides have something to say? Don't we really believe that both sides need to have their hand in the air saying, you know what, my bad?
Yeah, and the housing thing, for example, when I heard about that, it was like, it's like you're okay. Hey, you know what? I'll give you some cereal. You want some cereal? Yeah. Okay, but we don't have any milk.
No, or the bowl, or the spoon,
or the bowl. No, you're on your own, but we'll give you the cereal. Yeah. And it's like, okay, So
Yeah, well, that's okay. At least it's Lucky Charms. I love Lucky Charms. Ooh, it's actually generic Kellogg's. Ooh.
Yeah, cornflakes. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
But anyways, like it just seems some of the numbers came out finally this morning. We actually could get a grip on at least some of the things that were actually being discussed. The biggest one seemed to be, now there could be a lot of smaller issues that they just simply couldn't agree on as well, but the big one seemed to be the collective bargaining threshold, the CBT, which is a huge term that if you don't know what it means, join the club. No, I know what it means, but
competitive balance.
Yes, it's essentially a is that what it's CBT is?
Competitive balance tax. Yeah.
Competitive balance. Okay. So not collective bargaining threshold, that's not right. Competitive balance tax, that's the T.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we know. So that is essentially the most a team can spend before they start getting taxed, which helps lower the smaller market teams. It does. So there was only, if my math is not wrong, I think there was only 1 or 2 teams that dipped into it at all last year, even with the $210 million number that they used last year.
Yeah.
I think the Dodgers were way over it. And I think the Yankees were like sniffing it, but I don't even know if they got over it.
There's never more than a handful.
Yeah, it's never more than a few. And the players wanted to raise it up. I think the number was 238 million this upcoming year. And that came down because I think they compromised a little bit. So I think it came down. And the owners were saying 220. And I think that came up because they only wanted to do 214. So they went from 210 to 214 and said that's enough. And then they came up a little bit more and said 220. The biggest problem with that is they had a flat number for 3 seasons, no raises at all for 3 seasons. And then upwards slightly to, I think 230 was their final number in the 5th year, correct?
That's right.
And then the players wanted, I think it was like 268 as a max after the 5th year, something in that range anyways. So big difference. The first 2 numbers might not have sounded that far off, but overall big difference. So that's kind of the small and the short of it. I know that it's very deep and there's a lot of complex issues that, frankly, Craig, I don't even think you and I quite fully get the grasp of. But was there anything else outside of the CBT number that you noticed that just seemed too contentious for this to get done?
Well, the minimum salary, they're a little bit far apart on that, but you hit the nail on the head, Clark. This CBT is a big deal. And again, you talk about how contentious these 2 sides are. They've both agreed on playoff expansion, and they haven't agreed on what is that going to look like. They don't even have the universal DH worked out yet, even though both sides agree on it. But this CPT, this salary cap is how the players very much see it. This is a massive deal for the players, a massive deal. Hey, awesome. Somebody just joined us in the back there. Awesome.
Yeah. My cat Maui is
awesome.
in the
Welcome, Maui. Welcome. I remember, and this is years ago when the luxury tax first came in. There was Jim Leyritz. Any old school heads remember Jim Leyritz from the New York Yankees. He was the Yankees representative, like our guy Ross Stripling is for the Blue Jays. And when this was coming in, I remember hearing him on radio, on ESPN radio, and he calls George Steinbrenner, Mr. Steinbrenner. All the Yankees did. And he says, listen, everyone thinks Mr. Steinbrenner is against the luxury tax because he's cheap and doesn't want to. Mr. Steinbrenner is against the luxury tax because he knows these owners. They're golfing buddies. But he knows full well that Milwaukee owner, what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to take the money you get as a small market team from the luxury tax the team's paid out. You're supposed to reinvest that in your payroll. Helps you be competitive. Steinbrenner said from jump, these owners are going to take that money, put it in their pocket, contribute it to their bottom line. They are not going to reinvest it in the team. This was not the 94-95 work stoppage. How many years later are we right now? He was exactly correct. And the players are screaming bloody murder that's what's happening right now. The owners are using that number as a tax, and they're not willing to spend over that amount. And the teams the very few that do spend over that amount, the players are asking, well, just show the proof of the pudding then. Show how Pittsburgh spent more. Let's see it. Milwaukee spent more. I'm dying to see it. The Marlins. Let's see it. It's exactly what has always been happening with that. The players think the owners treat it as a cap, and cap is a 3-letter word, yes, but it's a 4-letter word to any players association. So that CBT is a big deal. There are other small things they're going to have to iron out, but nothing is more contentious than that tax.
Right. And when we talked to Ross, and now I'm looking back on this interview, I almost feel like we didn't do it justice with Ross Stripling. Shortly after the season ended, we had him on and we were talking to him about this upcoming negotiation. And when we went into the interview, I honestly will say me and Max didn't even realize he was our union rep. And then he told us, and we were like, oh, we got to grill him on this. And I wish we could have asked him a few more things. And we will try to get Ross on again, hopefully soon, to see his perspective on all this and the players' perspective.
I thought you guys knocked that interview out of the park, by the way. I thought that was a fantastic interview.
It went well, but just looking back, we could have talked to him for 5 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to keep him because it was right before Christmas, but like, anyways, but one thing that really stuck out with me from what he told us that day, and this was what, 4 months ago now. He told us that day that the players just want to see this league as competitive as possible. And they want to see young players, young star players, get money earlier, because these players, Craig, as well as anyone, a lot of these players don't get paid until they're 30 years old. And they're lucky if they do. And then they get looked at as these multimillionaires that are overpaid. But it's unfortunate because they should be making money from the ages of, like for Juan Soto, for example, he should be one of the highest paid players in the league. He's making league minimum, more or less. I know he's going to get a huge payday. He's going to get a huge extension, but Vladimir Guerrero, he's on league minimum right now. Bo Bichette, guys we love talking about, league minimum. Tatis, now he just signed a deal too, but he was on league minimum when he was the face of the league, when he was literally the face of MLB The Show. He was making league minimum. So I think what they want to do is get these players up earlier, get the money earlier, especially if they earn it. Like these star players, they should if they're earning it, they should get some extra stuff, which I think is one of the contentious issues, because they were talking about some bonus money for these younger players. And I'm pretty sure there's some big complex stuff with that, but I think that was the gist of it, is that the star players that are young will get bonuses of some kind. Or like rewards, depending on certain things that they do. And that got shot down. But they want they don't want the Pittsburgh Pirates tanking halfway through the year and keeping all their star young players down in Double-A just because they can. They want these guys to get opportunities.
That's right.
And that stuck with me as, immediately I was like, these players are trying to make the league a better place. And it just seems like the more we hear about what the owners don't want, makes me feel like they don't. That's what makes me feel like they don't care as much, Craig. And I know that they obviously are invested. They have, a lot of stock in what's going on here. But when the players come out and say they just want players to get more opportunities and the league overall to be better, it's hard for me to sit here and take the owner's side when the players are trying to do their thing.
The players are crystal clear on this. They think the system is broken. Right now, the system allows me to draft producer Clark. I draft producer Clark. I've got him as very inexpensive labor for 5 years, maybe 7, but let's say for 5 years. Going into that 5th year, I can already see producer Clark is killing it for me. This league minimum.
Doing real well.
He's killing it. Can't get a fastball by him, and he does huge things with the curve. Anyway, but yeah, he's killing it for me. Going into that 5th year, I'm a small market team. Man, I do not. Clark's got this re-up coming that I don't want to be anything a part of at all. I either trade him and start the whole thing over again, or I literally start the whole process over again by hanging on to Clark, squeezing him in that 5th year, getting the play out of him, giving him that qualifying offer. So when he goes out and gets the money, I get that draft pick back and I do it all over again. I draft Max and I do it all over again.
Yeah.
Haven't gone over the minimum in any of these scenarios. That's the system that's in play for Major League Baseball right now. The players think that the owners do this left, right, and center. And to your point, I don't necessarily disagree with them. The one thing I'm going to say that I don't hear talked nearly enough about from the owners is now. First of all, yes, I hear Rob Manfred gets a lot of the ire. Yes, and I do not want to sit here. I think Clark will throw me right off the show if I become a Rob Manfred apologist. I do not want that to happen. I do want to point out that every syllable that comes out of Rob Manfred's mouth is puppeted. He works for the owners. He works for the owners. He is an employee. I just want us to wrap our head around that. But from the owner's standpoint, think about this, Clark. The money that the owners came from, the industries that made them billionaires, COVID has dried these industries up. Every single owner's in a way different scenario on this round of collective bargaining because they can't Mark Cuban this thing anymore. They can't George Steinbrenner this thing anymore, where they make their money over here and reinvest it in the toy that is their baseball team. They need the baseball teams turning a profit. So the owners, that's the lens of where the owners are coming from I'm talking about. So again, just night and day. And to your point, how do we get the younger stars paid? That's the big reason, Clark, why the average salary over this 5 years of the CBA that just expired, that's the main reason salaries decreased. Because people are saying, hey, this guy over here, Craig Ballard's up for free agency. He wants what money? Do you see how you compare to Vladimir Guerrero? Vladimir Guerrero Jr. makes $590,000. You want to make what? Are you kidding? They're laughing me out of the room because right now the system allows for that. So the players are looking for big time changes. The owners are looking to dig their heels in. It's already ugly. My concern is it's going to get uglier. My God, this is not good for the regrowth of the hair, Clark. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. And on top of that too, like I remember, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, Dallas Keuchel comes off of what was an unbelievable year for him. He's already in his 30s. And do you remember, Craig, he was, I think, top, of the pitchers that were available, I want to say top 3 or 4 pitchers that were available. Absolute stud. I think, did he win the Cy Young, or he was close to winning the Cy Young that year? Everyone thought he was going to get a big deal. No deal. And it was like after spring training started that somebody said, here's a little small deal, just come pitch with us. And he's still out there producing pretty good a few years later. And he didn't get his money because teams just squeezed him out, and they didn't have, you know what I mean? There wasn't enough teams out there that had incentive to win. Therefore, why give this guy money? Because why does it matter for us? And the big teams spent their money elsewhere. And it's like, it's just a frustrating process, I think, for everybody, because we want to see the best players. And when guys like that don't get contracts, it makes everybody look bad, honestly. Like,
well, in that Keuchel scenario, the very ugly C word, not Craig, collusion reared its ugly head. That's another issue the players have right now.
Yeah.
The last few, not spring training, so the last few off seasons, the free agency market has moved at a snail's pace. Remember an off season ago when the Jays re-upped with Robbie Ray? It was on day one of free agency, and everybody was stunned because, oh my God, actual action? Are you kidding me right now? Because it had been taken forever, because it's a snail's pace, because the owners, for whatever reason, are not looking to spend money. And I have to say for whatever reason, because like you said, we saw numbers today. Over the life of this collective bargaining agreement, baseball brought in $43 billion. Where on earth is that money gone? How are we crying poor right now? And to your original point as well, here I'm getting really fired up now, because to your original point, who are the true losers in all of this? The ones who created the billion-dollar industry.
Yep, exactly. We have a few more minutes here before our next guest comes in, Craig. So I wanted to get to 2 more things, but there was just so much to talk about. So I don't know if we'll get to both, but let's talk about the Prairie Wheat Sox of the Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball, Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball League.
Ultimate Fantasy League of Baseball, yes.
Yeah. So the UFLB, we've kind of hinted at this. We've talked about this. If you've seen some of our other channels, if you've seen over on TikTok, Twitter, we've talked about it now. It's out of the bag. But Craig and I, as well as Max and our good friend Tanner Ring, are all involved in this from a team management perspective for a team called the Wheat Sox. I don't have the logo. Actually, you know what? I might have the logo. Hold on. No, I don't have the official logo, so I don't want to use the stuff we didn't go with. We have other logos in this program, actually, but they're not the real ones, so I won't go with it. I guess I could go to the Twitter page if I really wanted to.
I was going to say, doesn't it sound like people need to go check out these social media pages then to see it for themselves?
I'll bring it up. That's a good point. Here it is. There we go. Do this. Look at that. Prairie Wheat Sox. So there we go. There's our team. This is going to be where everything lives. We've already got 92 followers, so perfect. We're doing well over here. So we are a part of a huge fantasy baseball organization, again, called the UFLB. 30 franchises involved in this one league, the only league of its kind. There isn't going to be multiple versions of this league. There's one, and we got a team in it. Craig's helped me run it, as well as Max and Tanner. And our draft is this weekend. Even though baseball's not happening, or we don't know yet, it's still the draft is going ahead for this. It is full 26-man rosters with an extra 40-man roster included. So if you're thinking, oh man, that seems like, we usually, when I do fantasy baseball, there's that many. Yeah, but there's not 30 teams in your fantasy baseball league. And the buy-in wasn't upwards of $13,000 US. So this is a big deal. It's big money being thrown around. There's some big some big personalities in the league too, from what I've gathered and learned. And we're a part of it. So we have this draft coming up this weekend. 17th overall is our pick that we get to make every single round. It's not snake. We get the 17th pick every round. So, Craig, I'll let you kind of go off on this. How excited were you, I guess, to hear about this? And then now that our draft is like on the horizon, I'm seeing somebody say fantasy baseball in my TikTok and they're just laughing about it because the league, we don't know what the league's status is. I hear you. But how excited are you to just get some players in our hands and see what happens?
I'm so excited about this, Clark. It's the most high stakes fantasy sports I've ever heard of in my entire life. I mean, we had last weekend, the Wheat Sox, the whole league had the prospects draft. So the prospects, for you to be a prospect, you've not seen one pitch on the big league level. So there's 142 players that are about to see action on the big league level. They're in A, AA, or AAA now. Yeah, they're scrolling through the videos. Nice, Clark. Yeah. So that was last weekend. That was an auction. That was a 3-day draft auction style. So everybody bids. Whoever wins that slot, now you have a minute. Now you're on the clock. You have a minute to pick your player. There was over 150,000 US dollars brought into this prize pool right now is over 300,000 US dollars. That's like what, Clark? It's like 4 million Canadian. Okay, I digress.
Six.
Yeah, that was 6 million. Sorry. Like it is real, and money isn't everything. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just talking about the stakes that we're at here. If it was up to us, the 40-man roster would mirror their 40-man roster because we would just have fun with it. But we need to think with our head here. And by the way, check out the videos that Clark's showing you here because we did have that prospects draft. We landed 6 prospects for our 40-man roster. We're super excited about all of them. We're beyond thrilled about a couple of them. And full disclosure to our Blue Jay fans out here today, we wanted Gabriel Moreno. He went 9th overall. We didn't get him. Now, we did get an amazing catcher, Francisco Alvarez, 5 picks later. We're so happy. So our catcher spot, we're so happy. And we just missed out on Aurelvis Martinez as well. So you Blue Jay fans, we tried to get some Blue Jay prospects. Believe me, absolutely yes. The whole experience of it is incredible. So I've never been in a league where it's 40 men, 30 teams. You keep the same roster year over year. So I'm constantly reminded to change my mindset. I was talking to Clark yesterday. People are debating between Acuna or Mike Trout. And what world are we living in where this is a debate? Like we would, growing up our whole lives, we would have given anything to land Mike Trout in fantasy. And Clark said, but what if Acuna is the next Mike Trout? Because he's a fraction of the price. These are it's real major league salaries, guys, and salaries that we have to keep in mind here. So many things come into play that I've just never done before in a fantasy league. The UFF, the Ultimate Fantasy League that does it, they bill it, Clark, something along the lines of like it's the next best, or it's the not next best, it's the next thing to running a major league franchise. Yeah, that's been my experience in our war room when we landed Francisco Alvarez. You've never seen euphoria like this, folks. We were on cloud flipping 9.
I was telling some people, or was it on the walk-off pod the other day where I was like, yeah, we got it. And we were all just like, yes, we got the pick. We did it. I can't believe we got it. And then I realized that we only had like 30 seconds left because we were all cheering to make an actual selection. So I was like, oh, who are we taking here? Are we sure we're taking? So it was absolutely wild.
Then we come back on day 2 and we just missed out on Aurelvis Martinez. In the next pick, we land Shea Langoliers. Yes. He's a big-time catching prospect coming up with the Braves. We should have been happy. We were because we were so bummed. Like Langoliers has grown on us, right, Clark? Don't get me wrong. We're excited now. But in that moment, again, just the realism of what it must be like to run a Major League Baseball team. And to your point, Clark was saying, Craig, are you excited about this? I can't wait to see the guys that get picked. I can't wait to see who's thinking what. I can't wait to see who we end up with. Mm-hmm. And Clark and I, we're both on the same page. I think Max and Tanner is as well. We hear you with no one wants to hear about your fantasy team. I'm imploring you to look into this, folks. Look into this with us. Enjoy this ride with us because I'm absolutely telling you there's nothing fantasy baseball about this. This is a big-time deal, and we would love to have you guys come. Clark said we picked number 17 overall. You have an idea of who you'd like to see us take at number 17 overall? We would love to hear it. We would love to hear it.
And don't say Munenori Kawasaki. It's not happening, okay?
No, probably not going to take. No, at 17 overall, no, probably not.
Calvin saying hi from Nova Scotia. Hey. Welcome in from over on the East Coast. We got Donna Berger checking in, a good friend of ours. Robin Wildy wants to be the DJ for our fantasy home games. Robin, you're in.
Brilliant.
That's all.
Robin,
that was the only tryout you needed. You're in.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I see that our next guest is logged in, Saverina, and we will get to her in just a moment. So Saverina, sit tight. We're almost coming your way. But Craig, just to wrap this up, it's been a blast just getting all of our meetings and talking about players. And when the lockout news kind of came down today, all I could think of was, you know what, at least we have this draft this weekend, because I just want to talk about baseball, and that's going to force us to do that. And I'm kind of excited, and it's just going to be a nice little release from all this back and forth that's been going on in the last few days. Would you agree with that?
Oh, same page. It's funny you say that. Again, we're keeping on the same page. We haven't even discussed these things together, even though we're friends off of here as well. But same page. I had that same thought earlier today. What a kick in the teeth it is. Again, for me, maybe it's a different perspective, because I did think this labor issue was going to be a big deal, was going to get ugly. But yeah, so cool to still be so focused and lasered in on actual baseball, like the draft that we've got coming up. Absolutely, yes. My spirits were buoyed, actually. I run the fantasy baseball league at where I work, and I put on an email the other day, I thought sheepishly, saying, do we want to do fantasy baseball? And everybody, I couldn't believe the speed of people coming back. What kind of question is it? Craig, have you been hacked? Do we need to reach out to Craig Ballard? Has he been hacked? What do you mean? Of course we do. So stick with it, baseball fans. Like, I know the resolve is going to be difficult. And again, as we talked about earlier, we're the ones to pay the price more than anybody. But please, let's stick with it, baseball fans. Join that Wheat Sox. Follow us. We still want to talk baseball with you guys. My God, if you pricked us right now, we got little baseballs that come out of us. Like, we are baseball guys. Please, please, let's not be doom and gloom.
Reggie over on TikTok says, take Bo. if he's available, he's under discussion. Yeah,
Reggie, stay by your phone on Saturday, because if he's available at number 17, you can announce the pick for us.
Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Oh, never mind, Reggie. Scrap that part. We'll let
we got to auction that part off or something. We got to do some fundraising or something. Janelle says, you got a haircut. I did, and I'm still wearing a hat. Now I got hat hair, but I did get a haircut. It's been 3.5 months since I got a haircut. Which I usually get one every month. So it's been a big deal for us, for me. Sheridan's just loving all of it. Sheridan Davis just loves all of it. He's given us a bunch of these. He just loves the whole thing. And then, well, look who got a shout out. Who got a shout out? Me? Who got a shout out? I'm not sure. Saverina, give me a thumbs up if everything's working over on your side. See if she can hear me.
What a beautiful name, by the way. Saverina?
Yes.
What a beautiful name.
Saverina Scozzari. Yes, Saverina, can you hear us back there? Let me know if you can hear us. She might be having some audio issues. She just logged back in, so I have to just we'll wait and see when she can come on. But she might be having some audio issues. Saverina, if you can hear us, just give us a thumbs up, and then we'll get you on and we'll chat with you. Not quite yet. Okay, so we're going to just give her another minute here. I'll send her a message. Craig, I guess we can maybe let the cat out of the bag a little bit. I mean, I was going to talk top 10 and MLB free agents with you, but since we're on the topic of the Wheat Sox and our first overall pick, who are some of the guys? Let's go with this, so we don't tip our cap too much in who we might be selecting. Who do you think won't be available at 17? Who do you think might go top 10 in this league?
I don't think I'll be breaking any news here. I think it'll be the usual suspects. You're going to see a Trout going there, yes. If Soto's not number one, a Soto or Shohei, because in our league, Clark will point out, in our league, guys, believe it or not, you get Shohei, period. In other fantasy leagues, you can draft Shohei the batter or Shohei the pitcher. In this league, you get Shohei Ohtani, period. So he's going to be very lucrative. He's going to go early. Soto, Slim Daddy Vladdy will go very large. I think Bo could go in the top 10. Like Bo's going to go early. Absolutely, yes. For me, from a fantasy standpoint, and if you've played fantasy at home, then maybe we're on the same page. I'm always concerned with the catcher spot, because there's only a few catchers and then there's such a drop off. And I'm always concerned with second base. So again, Clark says, hey, Craig, don't tip her hat. I hope I didn't too much there, but those are positions that I'll be looking to address. Definitely. Some of the pitchers, well, I'm going to be very interested to see who falls to us at 17. My biggest intrigue on Saturday is, even if we laid out the top 16 picks, I think there's going to be one or two teams that are going to go way off board because they're a fan of somebody. They have to have them. So, Clark, even if we said right now our pick at 17 is going to be this player, I think it stands to reason that come pick 17 on Saturday, there's going to be 2 or 3 surprises, and meaning there's going to be 2 or 3 players that we never thought were going to be available at 17, and our war room is going to be a chatting.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that I was talking to someone at work today, And they were like, "Hey, so who are you going to try?" Oh, you know what? I was talking to my good friend Alan Lee. Shout out to Alan Lee. He's Alan Lee intern. If you guys have followed along,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Alan Lee used to work for the SquadCast back in the day, so he has some SquadCast lore, if you will. But he was like, "So who are you planning on taking? Throughout the draft?" And I was like, "Alan, I have no idea. Like we can talk about who we would like, but at the end of the day, it's all going to depend on how the chips fall. And there are 30 rounds or 30 picks
30
per
teams.
round." So by the time we get to the 5th round, there's 150 guys off the board, where usually that's a whole league, like a whole fantasy league is 150-ish, 200 guys. Well, that's halfway through day one.
Yeah,
So
it's
so
so
we got a
different.
lot of stuff going on. It looks like Saverina might be ready to go. Can you give us a thumbs up if you're good to go? She's smiling. So let's bring her in here. Saverina Scozzari, thank you for joining us tonight. We have a lot to get to. First off, just welcome to the show and thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this for a while because I want to pick your brain on your job, just in general. And I know, Craig, we were talking about it earlier. I don't know how much insight you can give us on the PR battle that Major League Baseball is having with themselves right now. But I know that you deal with a lot of hockey players as well. Can you maybe just explain to our viewers maybe a little bit about your business and kind of maybe some of the people you represent?
Yeah, so I handle marketing and PR for a number of current and former hockey players. It's been mostly hockey based up until a week ago, and now I started working with basketball players, baseball players, NBA players, all the sports, and really expanding. So it's been exciting because I've always been a big hockey fan, and now I get to learn about other sports.
That's perfect. So we've worked together a little bit with some guys in the past in terms of getting some interviews lined up and stuff. Can you maybe give us a few names of some people that you've worked with in the last couple of years?
Yeah, so I work with Vincent Trocheck, Doug Gilmore, Shane Corson, Tyler Sagan, Jake Muzzin, and recently you had AJ Galante on.
Yes. AJ Galante, Craig, of Netflix fame. He was on the documentary about the Danbury Trashers. I don't know if you saw that one, Craig, but if you haven't, put it on your list. I think you'd enjoy it.
Okay.
It's a great show about a hockey team that was purchased by a mob boss and given to his 17-year-old son at the time to run. So now you got to watch it.
That's an amazing gift. Okay, yeah. I'm already hooked.
Yeah, honestly, what a birthday present, hey? But anyway, Saverina, maybe you can provide some insight for us. I mean, we've been talking about it all show here so far, the Major League Baseball feud that they've been having in the lockout, of course. But let's say you were involved in this. What would you have done anything differently in terms of how they approached maybe the public relations and the media and everything that's going on with all of that? I mean, what are your thoughts from your industry on all of the stuff that's been going on?
Well, from my industry, the longer the season delayed, the better, because the guys have no restrictions with their deals. No one owns them right now. So
Right.
It's pretty nice with me having a lot of opportunities to throw their way. So I'm just kind of watching from behind the scenes, and I'm hoping it all works out for everyone.
That's understandable because, like, if you think about it that way, Craig, like, guys, can't do an interview for the whole week because they got practice or games or something. I guess now their schedule's open, so they can do a whole lot of stuff. So I never thought about that perspective. So thank you for that, Saverina.
We've been racking our brain for what's a positive coming out of this damn thing. Saverina just laid it out for us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Saverina, I mean, how did you get into this? And I guess what was your experience like kind of accumulating some of these names that you kind of mentioned to us? How did it all start for you?
Well, it all fell into my lap. I started in TV in the entertainment industry when I was 14. I had my own TV show, did TMZ for a couple of years. And then I interviewed Zach Ronaldo. He's based in Hamilton, which is my hometown. He needed some PR help, and that led to working with other guys. And it was just word of mouth and reference based from there.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So was sports always a thing that you wanted to kind of at least have a piece of in terms of what your career ended up being, or was it kind of something you said kind of fell in your lap? Did it kind of just go that way, or was it something you always kind of wanted to do if you
I
could?
swear I would never work in sports. I wanted to cover the red carpet and marry Brad Pitt. That was the end goal, and then this happened, and I fell in love with it.
Well, there's always time for that. You never know. You never know how it could all go. But there's some other stuff that you have going on in your life right now, Saverina, and I'll let you take over here a little bit. But the kidney disease, can you tell us about your involvement in all of that? And you got some big stuff coming up that we can talk about as well. So I guess from your perspective, what's going on with all of that with you and with everything that you're getting involved in?
So I've had kidney disease since I was born. My kidneys never fully developed, and I've been working towards a transplant for the last 25 years. It's finally happening next month. So through my experience, I've been working with the Kidney Foundation to help raise awareness and funds to help build better kidney health for all.
That's amazing. Congratulations, by the way. That's great news. So you said it's been, that many years. What, I guess, for those who might not know, how does kidney disease affect you on an everyday basis? If you don't mind kind of letting us in on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it affects everybody different. I've been very fortunate not to have any symptoms, not to be on any medication, and not to be on dialysis. We're just going straight to transplant because I'm so young, but a lot of people are unable to get out of bed. They're nauseous and just very sick, and they can't live a normal life.
Right. So you are getting involved specifically, something that started today, actually, the 6 degree challenge. I have some of the notes about it here. Can you tell us a little bit about the 6 degree challenge? And I guess I mean, there's some big stuff going on here with dollars being raised for all of this, and how can people get involved? So I guess let's start with what is the 6 degree challenge, and we can go from there. So how did you get involved in this, and what is it, I guess?
I got involved actually through Doug Gilmore. He connected me with the Kidney Foundation, and the 6 Degree Challenge was the first campaign that I took part of a few years ago. And it was just a simple social media post, throwing six, holding up 6 fingers, and sharing my story. And it shows that we're all affected by kidney disease. 1 in 10 Canadians are affected. It's actually more common than we think it is.
Yeah.
People of all ages. And it just shows that we're either affected personally or we know someone who is. And this has been a really great way to learn that you're not alone and you connect with others that are in similar situations.
Absolutely. That sounds pretty awesome. I mean, from this is a different realm, I guess, but my wife last year just got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and we were shocked to find out how common that is, and the fact that, kidney disease affects so many people. That's something that I honestly didn't know. So thank you for sharing that, and I'm excited to kind of see how this six degree challenge goes. And I guess keep the awareness going. Where can everybody find information on that?
6degreechallenge.com.
Perfect. Simple. Make it simple and people will come. I like that. So I guess you said Doug Gilmore. Are there any other, big names that are getting involved in this? Or, I mean, where can people see, like, is it going to be shared on social media, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it'll be all over social media. Trochuk's gonna do a post probably
Nice.
whenever he gets home or maybe on the road. I think he's heading to Washington tomorrow and just wrapping up his game in Detroit tonight. I'm hoping they get the win. And then maybe a couple other guys. They always usually surprise me, but they're very supportive.
That's fantastic. What are the goals? What are the goals of this? How much do you hope to raise? And how many years has this been going on, I guess, too? What have been some of the results in the past?
I believe it's been 4 or 5 years that this has been running. Last year we were able to raise 50,000, and this year 50,000.
Wow, that's amazing. That's perfect. So, I guess is the best way to get involved in this in terms of seeing some of the stuff and maybe sending in some donations, just go through the website then? Would you recommend that be the best way?
Yep, and then checking out Kidney Ontario on social media as well.
Perfect. Now, you said you're in Hamilton, Saverina. Are you excited for the big outdoor game that's coming up there in a few weeks?
I am. I'm hoping I'll be able to make it out. I've been looking forward to it for the last year since they announced it.
Yeah, you're going to be attending for sure?
Not sure. We'll see when everything works out for surgery, but fingers
Oh,
crossed.
Right, of course. Yeah. Well, here's hoping that you can get there, because I'm sure you would really enjoy it. And I know that for those who don't know, the Maple Leafs and the Sabres are going to be playing outdoors at the donut box, as we call it out here in Saskatchewan, and where the Hamilton Tiger Cats play. So that's exciting. Tim Hortons Field. It's going to be a big one. Saverina, I guess, where can everybody follow you and your journey in all of this?
At Saverina PR on Instagram and Twitter.
Perfect. All right, Saverina. Well, thank you so much for providing that information. Craig, did you want to add anything at the end here?
Do we have a quick second?
You take your time.
Saverina, I just, and certainly don't want to get political. Now, first of all, I'm right away invested. I am rooting for your right away, like right out the gate. You've got a fan here. Clark, is this not NHL Ava's sister, by the way?
No.
Okay. No. Okay.
They do look alike. They could be sisters for sure.
And hockey and hockey brains too. But anyway, Saverina, and I don't want to make this political at all, but I just remember seeing something on TikTok. Clark and I like TikTok, where somebody who didn't want to take the vaccine was now taken off the transplant list, and a doctor was really eloquently explaining, well, people who are upset by that simply don't know the transplant process. We're trying to massacre that person's immune system, so when we get whatever needs to come in, the immune system doesn't fight it. I thought it was so fascinating. Saverina, what sort of other things, can you peel back the curtain at all? What sort of other things might a doofus like me just never have thought about that go along with what you're going through and the whole transplant idea?
Well, the vaccine was a really big thing. I was kind of iffy in the beginning, but my doctors really pushed it, especially that last booster. And then there's so many little tests that they do. They check your heart, and then for your donors, they have to check all of their stuff, their liver, their heart, chest. They have a full day of tests, and then you have to update it every year. So you always have to stay as healthy as possible.
And then after the transplant, what's the date when we can actually have that sigh of relief that, oh my goodness, it actually is going to be okay? What's that look like?
So it's a 2-month recovery, and then you got about a year before you can travel and kind of live fully normal. And I think the 5-year mark is when you really know that everything worked out.
Well, that doesn't seem fair that you have to spend a year in Hamilton, but I'll move off that. Okay. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking.
For fairness, Craig is from across. Yeah, he's from down the road, and
yeah, I'm in Mississauga. No, I'm joking. I love Hamilton. I'm totally joking.
So, Saverina, just before we let you go, I see a really cool piece of art there on your wall. Is that a Doug Gilmour jersey on the wall that I see?
It is.
Yes, amazing. And what else you got on your wall there? I see some pictures of some dogs, maybe some family members. What's going on back there?
My little guy Versace. I got a picture of Freddie Anderson from the last Leafs game I went to. I have a Czech jersey and Bernier jersey also.
Fantastic. Yeah, Bernier. You represent Jonathan Bernier, Eddie Lack. I think we've worked together on Eddie before. Some really cool names. And I know, Craig, you're not the biggest hockey guy, but even you got a little excited when she said Doug Gilmour and Shane Corson. I saw you over there.
I knew some of the names, A and B. Right now, not a hockey guy. I literally thought she just said a Britney jersey. My mind went to Britney Spears. So, yes, I'm not exactly a hockey guy. You are correct. But I did know a lot of the names she was mentioning. I'll tell you that right now.
There you go. All right, Saverina. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. I know you've had a long day because you've done several interviews already. So thanks for joining us for this one. And we're rooting for you. You got a couple more fans on your side from us, at least, and all the viewers here tonight. So good luck with everything. And we wish you nothing but the best.
No, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much, Saverina. All right. And that is Saverina Scozzari. You can follow her at Saverina PR. She's got an awesome firm going on, unless you mentioned some absolute studs. And Craig, you might not know this name, but Eddie Lack is a former goalie. He actually retired young. So picture a 32-year-old guy coming off a couple of his best seasons, and he retires. And we're all thinking, what's going on? He had major hip damage, injuries on his hips. And if you can imagine playing goaltender, hips are kind of important. And the hips don't lie, as they say. So he called it a day, but he is so funny. He's such a good personality. And now he's in real estate, and he does some hockey commentary as well. So he's got an awesome thing going on. He lives down in Arizona.
No guts, no glory. I'm going to try it. Was that a Winnipeg goalie?
He spent a little time in Winnipeg, but I think it was with their American Hockey League team, if I'm not mistaken. He played with Vancouver, Carolina, and Calgary a little bit. And I might be missing one team that he might have jumped in with, but it was mostly Vancouver and Carolina. He actually, while he was in Vancouver, frequented a taco spot so much that they named a taco after him.
Brilliant.
And it was called the Laco Taco. And I want to go there. I still haven't been, but anyways.
That's the second best food pun. The best, of course, being the Ross strip loins.
Yeah, exactly. Ross strip loins. Yes, exactly. Yeah, we need to make that happen. I'm still working on it with the Blue Jays concession staff. They aren't being very receptive. But let's switch gears now. Well, we're not really switching gears. We're still gonna talk hockey because our good friend is going offside. The whistle's being blown. James Roberts is going to join us. I'm just going to let him finish his sip because I want him to be fully ready to just let it go when I bring on James from Offside Hockey Talk. James, welcome to the show, my good friend.
What's shaking, guys?
If this guy's nickname isn't The Voice, this guy's nickname needs to be The Voice.
Yeah, he has many nicknames that can be added to the list. James, welcome to the show. I mean, where do we start here tonight? I want to get Leafs talk in with you, but I don't want it to just be Leafs because there's so much going on, and I know we have a lot of things we can go into. Let's start with the Leafs and get it out of the way because they just came off a 10-7 game, and then they had a good game yesterday, 5-3 win. Where do you sit right now in your mindset with the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Calm as a boat. Calm as a guy in a boat with no waves. That's where I'm at right now. I mean, look across social media, Clark. I mean, you're in it every single day like I am. It is insane. Mitch Marner finally started scoring, so what do we have to do? We have to find somebody else to be the proverbial whipping boy for the team, and now it's John Tavares. And I don't know if you've seen, but I have been all day long. I made one post, and many people have liked it. Many people haven't. But at the same time, John Tavares is almost a point-per-game player with the Toronto Maple Leafs. But for some, that is not worthy enough of his contract. He is a top 20 player in the NHL for the past few seasons, not worthy of the contract. I don't get it. I don't get the vitriol these guys get. If John Tavares mixed in even 5 goals in this little turn he's on, he's up for a star of the month.
Yeah.
With Mitch Marner
and honestly,
Matthews.
If he scored a couple goals in the last 10 or 11 games, nobody's talking about this. Let's be honest.
They would just find somebody else to complain about, which is Leafs Nation in a damn nutshell. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I'm enjoying it. I like the 10-7 game. Get it out now. Have some fun. Pick up the victory. Find a way at the end of it to battle back, which you never see the Leafs do. So, hey, you did it. You dug in. You figured it out. Good on you.
Absolutely. And not only that, but they're puking their guts out right now. There's a flu bug going around. So imagine skating around on the ice, Craig, with bubble guts and not knowing what end it's coming out of, scoring a goal like William Nylander did, and then rushing off the ice so you could go to the bathroom.
No way.
Coming back out onto the bench, your team has already scored another goal. And he's like, what just happened, guys?
Well, they're all laughing at him because they know exactly what happened to him. He was paying a visit to the porcelain gods.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, on Leafs Twitter wanted to know, did he flush? Did he wash his hands? It took him a while to get back to the bench, didn't it?
Yeah. What's going on with him? But it's funny you mentioned Tavares and, always needing somebody to be upset with. Just as I went live over on TikTok, James, and you can attest to this, somebody said, hey, Justin Hall's been playing pretty good lately. And I was like, I've been telling you for months, he's just fine. Get off of his back.
Well, but here's the thing, because now everybody's moved their focus to John Tavares. So the positivity will now come out for Justin Hall. That's just what happens here. Because you look at what it was. It was William Nylander. Then Nylander started scoring. So who'd they need? They went after Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley signed his new deal, went on a heater. Oh, can't talk about Riley now. Let's move to Marner because he's not scoring. Oh, Marner's scoring? Well, we got to shift the goalpost to John Tavares. It's what Leafs Nation does. And I don't know. This one for me just bothered me because all the things that John Tavares does, not only on the ice, but off the ice for the Leafs and Leafs Nation, it's really crappy if you're going to crap on a guy for no reason, especially a guy who's almost a point per game in a full 82 games. If he goes 88 points, I mean, that's worth $11 million to me. I don't know about you guys.
Exactly. A comment over on TikTok, Mike Barge says Tavares was the reason they won in Washington.
Yep.
Your Leafs fan 16 Marcus says Yeah. Just like complaining about Justin Hall. Yeah, that's what we just said.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One more for you on the Leafs, and then let's talk about trade rumors, because even Craig loves a good trade rumor in hockey, because it just means chaos, and we all love chaos. Jared Kirk, shout out to you over on TikTok. Goaltending. I know it's a big topic. I get it. Every single time I click go live on TikTok, every video I get this comment. Are you worried about the goaltending? I'm going to let you say your piece, and then I'll probably agree with you, because I think we're on the same.
I'm not worried about the goaltending. Okay. This is Jack's first spin at a full season,
Right.
being a starter. So what does every starter go through? Ebbs and flows. Here's the problem with Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell's an emotional guy. He takes everything to heart, wears his heart on his sleeve, apologizes for every loss, apologizes for every bad save. You know, he takes it all to heart. And we've seen him many times beat himself up after games to reporters. Here's the other caveat. We talked about Morgan Riley getting that new deal and then having this career resurgence this year. Why? Because he finally felt wanted again by the Maple Leafs, knows he's a part of their plans and a part of the team. Jack Campbell's a goaltender. A lot of being a goaltender is between the ears. He has no contract. We just talked about a guy who plays with emotions. So now you have a guy who has no contracts, no stability, not knowing where he's going, and then his game's kind of taking a little bit of a turn right now. You put all that together, it doesn't snowball well. If you see Jack Campbell get a deal, I guarantee you see him come back to what he was, because it calms the waters.
Right. And you heard his quotes, you read his quotes the other day. I just got to get back to having some fun and stop being so hard on myself.
Yep.
He's so in his own head sometimes, and that's just, it's a tough place to be when you're a goalie, because A, they're crazy to begin with, and
you're
B,
standing in front of vulcanized rubber for a living.
Yeah,
Put that into perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And B, it's just when things are going rough, you know, as a goalie, the weight of the world can come down on you sometimes. And Jack Campbell's a guy who just needs to have some fun in his life. Craig, the first thing I thought of when he started mentioning the no contract thing was the movie Moneyball, your favorite movie of all time. When Art Howe says, "I don't have a contract, I can't manage this team when I don't have a contract." It's kind of the same thing. It's tough when you don't know where you're going to be the next year, for sure. I mean, I feel like he wants to be a Maple Leaf. I think the Leafs want him to be a Maple Leaf. For whatever reason, they haven't.
I think he's such a weird creature too, that he needs that kind of stability to keep him going, right? It's the same thing at the beginning of the year when he was beating himself up. It took the rest of the team to be like, "Hey, we're behind you. We support you. We know this is going on. It's all right, man. We got you." You know, now I think he's looking for the Leafs to do the same kind of thing. And everybody's worried about Mrazek getting starts. This was the plan all along. If Mrazek didn't get hurt at the beginning of the season, it was supposed to be a 1A, 1B situation anyway. Right. So this is just what it was supposed to be earlier. Now they're giving Mrazek some starts. They were supposed to get Jack some rest because he's never played a full season as a starter. So this is all what it was supposed to be.
This is so awesome hearing you two wax poetically. You're just so well thought out on the sport. Now, what do I know about hockey? But honestly, what I'm hearing is like a baseball closer. You're describing it as someone who's wired differently. That's how I'm perceiving it right now. I've got a question. I would love to hear both your takes on knowledgeable Leaf fans. James, and then over to Clark. Let's do it that way. I would love to know, if I were to tell you, James, that I've just come back from the future and I've noticed that the Leafs are in the conference finals. I don't know if they win or lose the conference finals, but I know getting out of Yes.
Wow, you're amazing. I'd give you a big old hug.
I know that getting out of the first round's a big deal, right?
I'd kiss the top of your head.
That's my question to you guys. So, James, start with you. So, James, if I said that to you, what's your immediate instinct? So, Craig, if that's true, and the Leafs are in the flipping conference finals, then X must have gone really well. What's the X that would have to go really well, and then you can really see things happening for your Toronto Maple Leafs?
They got out of their own way. That's the biggest thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The reason why I say that, you look at the playoffs last year, you have Mitch Marner basically crying in the 24/7 doc or whatever it's called. You know, the one I'm talking about, All or Nothing.
All or Nothing.
He's all so upset. It seems like the Leafs, we talk about Jack Campbell, this team gets in their own head. They've lost to Boston. They've lost to Washington. They've lost to Columbus. Now you've lost to Montreal. I would say they finally slayed the giant, whether it's the Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning, doesn't matter. They finally got over that hill, much like the Washington Capitals did with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They finally went over that level, and they took it
Ooh.
and they ran with it. Once they get over that hurdle of the first round, Clark, I think you can agree with me. I think all bets are off. I think this team will be on a heater, a run, whatever you want to call it. But once they win round one, it's all house money from there. I think these guys will be wheeling and dealing.
What an effort. And I even understand the Washington-Pittsburgh reference, gentlemen. Do you believe that? I even get that.
I thought I tried to tie it in.
You're going to start a hockey TikTok account pretty soon, Craig. So, Craig, just for reference, there was a really All or Nothing, the documentary series, of course, done by Amazon. And in that documentary, they were in the playoffs against Montreal. I'm pretty sure it was in the playoffs. I think once I say you're muted. Oh, he's talking to somebody else. But James will remember this quote. It was Paul McLean, one of the assistant coaches. And Craig, if you see this guy, his mustache is legendary. He is he is often mimicked, never matched in terms of his mustache.
Wow.
But he had this great quote. Basically, there was a coaches meeting, and I think, James, I don't remember the exact context of when it was. I think it was like after game 5 or something like that against Montreal. And he said, these guys have skeletons like pouring out of their closet. They just cannot get past this mental block of winning this round for whatever reason. Now, is it because they're all young and inexperienced? It's a lot of it. Is it because some injuries piled up? It's part of it. But at the end of the day, they had enough talent to beat Montreal last year, and it just didn't happen. They had enough talent to beat Columbus the year before, and it just didn't happen. So what is it? And Paul McLean just kind of nailed it. Once they burn these skeletons, it's all just going to take off.
Oh, yeah.
But didn't we see that with Montreal? Wasn't that Montreal's story? Once they got past that first round, everything snowballed, did it not? Like, am I wrong? Montreal was a stunner last year. Is that not right?
Oh, yeah, they're a stunner for sure. Yep. And now, Carey Price, I mean, it was thing of legend for him that this was meant to be the way that it went last year. Just the way he was playing was godly.
Wow.
And shout out to everybody on the Montreal Canadiens last year. It was just the perfect cocktail to get them just far enough. It just didn't get them all the way, but just far enough. And so it was, Philip Deneau, defensive wizard, Shea Weber, guy you never want to see on the ice when you're out there. So many other guys. Thomas Tatar was on the team. Sperry Kotkaniemi, he's gone now. They've lost so much from that team, and it's underrated how much they've lost. And they're about to lose more because they're going to trade everybody out. But that can be our next topic, trade rumors. And Craig, feel free to jump in here because I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of this. But the Montreal Canadiens are a team that are going to be probably selling. We just saw the Chicago Blackhawks hire a new general manager, and he said, it feels like more of a rebuild than a retool. So they're tearing it down. If anything goes the way it sounds like. Pat Verbeek in Anaheim is in a very interesting position because the Ducks were good. They were in a playoff spot, and now they've kind of tapered off to what we actually expected them to be. So what do? Because they have some big names that they could move out and tool up or bring in the next wave for the Ducks. I don't know where you want to start, James, but maybe I'll just turn it over to you and let's just have a little bit of a session here, a little jam sesh. What are you thinking?
Well, one rumor I want to squash right away. I did a little checking on this one with a couple people that do cover the Chicago Blackhawks. There was a little rumor floated that Marc-Andre Fleury may be on his way to Toronto in a deal. That is not happening. That is definitely not happening. Fleury doesn't have a whole bunch of interest in playing in a Canadian market. He'd have to be really schmoozed to get there. But I wanted to dig in on that one, knowing I was coming in with you. And a lot of people were throwing it at me today. Hey, Fleury's going to be a Leaf. It's going to be great. Yeah. And it's like, well, I look at it like this. A goaltender at the deadline is not a smart move for any team. I take you back to Ryan Miller going to the St. Louis Blues for a first-round pick. That did not go smooth. That blew up in everybody's face because he was the starter, but really wasn't a great starter for them. So I think goalies, again, creatures of habit, need to be in a system for the whole year. So I know in the heart of hearts for Leafs fans, you love to see the story of Marc-Andre Fleury coming here, taking the net, running with it, teaching Campbell or whoever a couple things, but not happening. But a guy that might be...
If I can cut you off really quick there, James, yep. I'll let you keep going here, but I just want to add something. Another name I heard was like Semyon Varlamov. Okay, so So are we realistically thinking that the Leafs are going to manipulate their salary situation that's already tough when they have other priorities to bring in a mid to late 30s goaltender, which is let's be honest, a lot of the ones out there that are available are mid to late 30s goalies who have already lost their jobs as starters, and these guys are upgrades? Why are we all of a sudden as Leaf fans just getting any goaltender who can put on pads and saying, "Oh, he's going to be an upgrade"? No offense to these guys, but are they truly upgrades over what that we have now? Or is the answer for the Leafs specifically just having your internal offense getting back to their average performance levels? They don't even have to play Vezina level, average, and then they're good, right?
100%, Clark.
Crazy?
You hit the nail right on the head, man. I said this before. The Leafs have gone down this road, and they kind of did it with Campbell too. When Reimer was good and got the Leafs through the playoffs and did some things, they went out and got Jonathan Bernier because they didn't trust him. How did that go for the Maple Leafs? Not so swimmingly.
Don't tell Saverina because she represents Jonathan Bernier.
Hey, it's nothing against Bernier, but at the same time, you kind of smash the confidence of the guy that was building himself up to be your starter. So what are you going to do? Go out and get a goaltender and basically tell both the guys you have now that you're not good enough. We needed somebody else. So how is that going to go next year when that guy's not here and you have to run with those goaltenders again? You just shattered everything you had with them because you said, hey, you're not good enough for this year, but maybe next year you are, but not this year. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. That's so silly, man. To me, it just play with what's in house. If you want to use a new goaltender, bring up Joe Woll. He did good for you. Let him run with the net for a little bit. If you're that worried about Campbell or that worried about Mrazek, let him run the net. But I mean, Jesus, to go out and get a mid-30s goaltender and just smash in the face the two goaltenders you have that you're not good enough, ridiculous. Talk about ruining team chemistry.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And especially a guy, again, who I said has already lost his job as a starter. And now you're just bringing him in, throwing him into the situation and say, figure it out with 30 games left in the season. Go play. What is he going to play? 10 to 15 games tops. And then all of a sudden, like, is he going to be the answer? I just feel like for most teams, and you kind of already said it, like acquiring a goalie is never easy. But for most teams, if you can get 30 games or 30 to 40 games of a guy playing every night, defenseman or a forward or something like that, there's your value. I mean, it's unless you're absolutely desperate and your goalie has a broken leg or something crazy has happened to your goalies, go get something else that's going to make your team in front of the goalies better, which will then trickle down and make your goalie better. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with you 100%. And that's exactly what you need to do. Team defense is a huge, big thing. And I like what you linked me to today, my friend, a guy that I've been beating the drum for, and Joe Pavelski. The John Klingberg add-on was something I don't think will happen pie in the sky, but I definitely think that Joe Pavelski could be a thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And you know me, I've been beating that drum long before it was a popular opinion that should be a guy the Leafs go after. He gives them everything they need. And talk about getting over the hump in the playoffs. This guy's done it. He's scored in the playoffs, knows what it takes. He's hard-nosed, puts up points, can play second, third line, plenty of kill. It doesn't matter. He can jump on the ice wherever you need him to be. He can be your advanced Swiss Army knife over Kerfoot, push him down in the lineup, have Kampf, Kasha, and Kerfoot as the third line, slap Mikheyev on the fourth line with Spezza and Simmer. Let's go. That's beautiful.
I'm pretty
excited.
What I
mean? You push everybody down to where they're supposed to be. That is something the Leafs need to do. But I was going to say in Chicago, Calvin DeHaan is still a name that I think could be a serviceable option for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But the thing that doesn't seem to leave being linked to these guys here, the Toronto Maple Leafs, is JT Miller and Luke Schenn.
Yeah.
That's something that just keeps coming back up. And I think if it's not Pavelski, because I really do think that's the option for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it has to be. That's the nuclear option to give them the best chance of winning here. But if you go get JT Miller and Luke Schenn, at least you shore up your D. You get a light minute munching defenseman that can block shots and clear the front of the net. And you get your guy up in the top six. You're not moving Bunting. So it's another guy to play with Willie and JT. And then Leafs Nation can be happy because then JT might score some more goals.
Right. My biggest thing with Luke Schenn is the storylines are so cool. Craig, for reference, Luke Schenn was drafted 5th overall by the Leafs back in 2006, 7, somewhere in that range.
So right around that range, yep.
by Brian Burke back in the day, and he was traded years ago for James Van Riemsdyk straight up because he was basically ran out of town. I mean, to an extent, he wasn't living up to his high pick expectations. He's since gone on to be a journeyman who has won 2 Stanley Cups in the last 2 years because he went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So he picked the right team to journey to. But that's kind of the storyline. So bringing him back to Toronto to kind of, play another role here would be a cool storyline. But James, the thing I worry about with Luke is I feel like we just got Luke Schenn in Ilya Lyubushkin. Don't you think there's sometimes too much of the same thing won't really, like Craig, for reference, I'll give you another one. Imagine having Ross Stripling and going out and saying, we need to improve our pitching and adding a clone of Ross Stripling. Is it an improvement, or is it just adding wood to a pile of wood?
Mm-hmm. I look at it like this. You go through the playoffs, and how many defensemen do you go through? And how many defensemen do you want of the same ilk? I mean, the playoffs are a different beast. Guys get hurt. We look at Jake Muzzin, the linchpin of this D, going down each and every playoffs, and the team falls apart on defense. So if you had an Ilya Lyubushkin and then you have a Luke Schenn, you have the option of moving those guys up and playing physical. If Schenn's your 7th or 8th guy, but you can bring him in when there's injuries because he's been on the Stanley Cup runs, he's done those things, he can play physical. It's about depth, but I look at the Maple Leafs and I say it's about proper depth. It's nice to talk about Liljegren and Sandin and Dermott, but you need to have these guys that have the pedigree to get it done. Those guys will eventually, don't get me wrong. I think Liljegren and Sandin will be great. I don't think Dermott will be here, but I think you need, for this playoff push, this particular one, if you're going on a run, some of these guys to be depth guys. And I go back to saying, it's either Pavs and Klingberg or it's JT and Schenn. Show me something else. Josh Manson out of Anaheim would be nice. That would be really nice. But what's the price tag there? It's going to be really high. Because, they want to re-sign him. But, I mean, if you can pry him away. But
I got a trade question for you guys.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Unless you want to keep on the trade deadline, it's a bigger question than that, I think. But see, I'm baseball, basketball, and football, and in basketball, I'm downright petrified that a guy like Damian Lillard, a superstar like Damian Lillard, is well beyond where he needed to ask out of Portland. Are there parallels here? And again, novice hockey fan, but even I am sitting there saying, what's Connor McDavid doing in Edmonton? What is happening there? Will he not at one point need to push the envelope? Do what players don't like to do and be that villain that comes out and does ask for that. But at some point, guys, aren't we going to see push come to shove with this guy?
Clark, he kind of already has. He's told Ken Holland there's a clock, right? I mean, that's what Elliot Friedman reported, that there was a clock for this team to improve and be better. And, maybe last year they took minute steps of doing that, but this year doesn't look like it. Yeah. If you're Connor McDavid, I'd say there's a year left and then you want out. You're done.
Yeah, there's parallels, Craig, but the tough part about hockey, and this might be coming to a bit of a head, is the salary system that's in place in hockey restricts movement so hard that it's so hard to move a guy like Connor McDavid, who makes as much money as he does and get any realm of appropriate compensation. Like you would basically ruin your franchise by trading a guy like Connor McDavid, because you would just simply never get enough back. You just wouldn't. Even if you get 5 first-round draft picks for the guy, it just wouldn't quite match it. And then you're also waiting like probably 10 years for any of that stuff to really happen. You know what I mean?
Like, what about Eichel? Did they get? I know it's a different atmosphere of a player. So they didn't. Okay.
Same idea. They didn't get anywhere near what they probably could have, and that's he's making $10 million a year for the next 7 years, so that's a tough contract. In the NHL. B, he was hurt for over a year and didn't play any games because he had a neck issue, and you can imagine how scary neck issues are in any sport, let alone hockey. So his value was next to nothing. But they. In fairness, they got, Peyton Krebs, a good player. Alex
Shout out Papa Krebs, who's watching right now.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Peyton Krebs is a gem. Alex Tuch, awesome player. He's not going to ever be a superstar, I don't think, but he's going to be a solid producer for years in Buffalo. So, I mean, they got some pieces, but at the same time, it's a franchise first line center. It's really hard. Whereas in basketball, I mean, you can get all these different pieces and you can trade guys every year and you can move pieces around like crazy because they have that soft tack or cap, right? They can manipulate it so much more. And hockey might be moving to that kind of thing. There's arguments out there. Alan Walsh, agent for hockey, has been pushing
agent provocateur, man.
Yeah, shout out Steve Dangle Podcast Network. I mean, he's been pushing for a soft tax or a luxury tax for a while now, and it might be happening because we're getting to a point in hockey where there's teams that could easily go over the salary cap as it currently is, and there's some teams that would benefit from getting luxury tax from that. So it's hard to say. And Craig, I know we can tie it all together because we literally talked about this earlier today, how, one team in Major League Baseball went over the competitive balance tax last year. And you said Steinbrenner he said that teams would just put it in their pocket. I truly think in hockey it would be different because I think there'd probably be 10 teams that would go over it or more if they could. And I think the lower market teams could really utilize that kind of money to help put it back in their players' pockets and help build a more competitive team. So I think hockey would be in a much better situation than baseball is to use that. So there you go. Could be a thing. Another conversation for another day.
Wow.
There you go. Craig, do you want to add anything else or can we go into another rumor here?
I'm sitting here thinking it's a small miracle I've had anything to add to this hockey conversation.
I love it.
I'll let
You've done well, my friend. You've done well.
Yes, you're crushing it, Craig. No worries. So I guess Arizona's a team that everyone's looking at. Let's go the other way. The Rangers are a team that everyone's looking at to add a piece. There's so many headlines. I don't want to keep you here for the next 2 hours because I know you're already 2 hours ahead of us. What's outside of JT Miller? Because we talked about him already. What's a big fish that you think is going to move, and maybe where a couple of teams that you think are really going to be in on this guy?
Well, obviously, come on now. We got to talk about Claude Giroux. That is a player. I mean, we haven't mentioned him yet, but I definitely do see him going to the Colorado Avalanche.
Wow.
It seems to be too married right now. That's
Greg,
a team
I told you weeks ago, the Avalanche, you got to watch out for those guys.
That's why I wowed, because Clark has been telling anyone that'll listen from jump, and he just mentions it in passing in his TikTok lives. Who's going to win the Stanley Cup, Colorado? He'll just mention it in passing. That's how deep he is into this. So you blew my mind. Even I know what this guy can bring to the table. Wow.
Yeah, no, but definitely Claude Giroux going to Colorado. There was a little bit of a little shakings about Vegas maybe being interested if they can move money to get Claude Giroux in there, kind of make it like a superstar push. Think of the Rangers back in the day when they had Lindros and Leach and Richter and Yager and keep going, Shanahan. You go down the list, right? It was an all-star team. That was another one I heard, but definitely Colorado for Giroux. That's going to happen. Another one to watch is Zdeno Chara.
Yeah.
I mentioned his name because you're on the Islanders. They're not doing well. Lou does right by guys who want to move. The thing is, he's not going to go very much out of his comfort zone. It's either probably going to be the Washington Capitals or the Boston Bruins.
Right.
I made the joke, hey, wouldn't it be funny to see him play for the Toronto Maple Leafs on a bottom pair? He's on a cheap contract, expiring deal. Pie in the sky.
They get first place, and they play Boston in the first round, and we beat Boston with Zdeno Chara on our roster. Go away, Boston.
Mashing Brad Marchand's face.
Oh, I would love it.
That's funny. But no, definitely Zdeno Chara. And I would see him probably reuniting with the Boston Bruins and going on one last hurrah. He just broke Chelios' record for most games played by defensemen. So, he's pretty much done it all. 1 Cups, the whole 9. So this could be the end for him. And why not wrap it up where he felt most comfortable in Boston? Another guy for me that's getting a lot of name play right now is Max Domi. He's not linked to any teams, but his name keeps getting put out there. And obviously he wants to go somewhere and play. And, I'm not going to say Toronto because I don't think that's where it's going to fit. But I can see him playing for a team that's a little bit more physical. I look at the LA Kings and say maybe that's a spot where you could see Domi going to play. They're a team that's kind of on the bubble. so they don't know what they're going to be doing or not doing. But you add a Max Domi, it's not a bad player to add, and the price tag may not be too high for the LA Kings to pay, and they definitely have prospect capital to spend and go get
Out
guys.
the wazoo. They have
Yeah.
so many prospects, and they're not going to be able to use them all. I've been saying it for a while. I think the Kings are a phone call away from some type of blockbuster, even if they don't need it,
Yep.
because they have so many prospects that are solid guys. And I just, I don't know why. I honestly don't know why they haven't done anything yet, because I was calling for them at the beginning of the year to get Eichel before that trade
Yep.
happened. I thought he was a good spot there, and that Buffalo could have gotten this was never on the table, but they could have gotten guys like Byfield and Turcotte and all these prospects that, like, LA has, I'm going to say 7 to 8 prospects, just forward prospects alone, that they're just not going to have enough spots for. There's only so many spots.
Guys, what about Calgary? I know Calgary's on absolute fire. Are they a team that's like a guy away? Like, what about Calgary?
No, I think they added their guy, to be honest.
Yeah, they might be good. They might be set. That's how good they've been lately. And they just got Tyler Toffoli, so that might have been their guy. He's a scoring right winger, plays gritty, he plays decent defense. So he might be their move, because we talked about this a little bit before, Craig, but there's so many teams. There's, I think, 16 or 17 teams that have almost zero cap space available. So for teams to make a move, that might be it. Well, zero cap space available. Yeah. There's wizards out there that can figure this stuff out and find loopholes. But if a team makes one move, that might be all they have available to do. So that's why, when I agree with you, James, let's go back to the Leafs for a sec. If they're going to make a move, I can see them doing a package for 2 players rather than 2 different trades with 2 different teams, because it just adds so much extra work. I
think no matter what deal they do, even if it is 2 players, I do think that you're still going to have another team in the mix to retain. I think you're going to have to bring in another team to bring those salaries down to even lower numbers. But another guy out of Columbus, keep an eye on, Patrick Laine. He's absolutely heating up. Obviously, if he's the player that he is right now, Columbus is going to want him. Yeah. But here's the problem. Does he want Columbus? Because he can take his qualifying offer and walk at the end of it next year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Columbus, you say, hang on a minute. Do we be able to give a team the option to have him on their qualifying offer for a year and get a nice return here? They watched Panarin walk away. They watched Bobrovsky walk away. What do you do?
I think personally, if you're Finnish general manager Jarmo Kekalainen, who's one of the only he's the only Finnish general manager in the league, and Patrick Laine from Finland is your current superstar player who's scoring at a ridiculous pace again, overpay him, keep him there, make a statement. Columbus isn't going to be up against the cap anytime soon.
Nope.
They're fine. Pay the guy, keep him there, and build something around him. If they do trade him, who could use a really good scoring winger? The Winnipeg Jets.
Winnipeg ain't getting back into it.
That's where he came from, Craig. He was a Winnipeg Jet.
Believe it or not, I can't even. Again, I'm just stunned. I was actually following along. Wasn't he? He was like the number 2 pick, and someone was a big time guy was number 1. No, wasn't it Matthews?
Matthews.
Yeah. Well, okay. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah, and there was debates for a couple of years. Matthews or Laine,
really?
Matthews or Laine, and that debate is completely squashed at this point, because Matthews has gone way up. And Laine's
kind of done this.
A little bit of this, yeah.
Another guy to watch team in Canada.
Yeah, I got to watch 2 guys. I mean, you look at the Philadelphia Flyers; they're obviously going to be moving Claude Giroux. You can see the press conference with him and how upset he was. But Rasmus Ristolainen, kind of a defenseman that's got a little bit of an attitude to him. I don't know what he would get, on the market, but obviously he's a defenseman again. A team could use for a run. Another guy that can fit into your.
You could retain 50% on him hypothetically, and he's only $3 million. So,
but there you go, right? There's teams that are going to want that, and I think there's a lot of guys that can move. But those are the big names that come to mind for me that everybody's talking about. I mean, does PK Subban move this year? Is this the year they move PK?
Get a little Jersey down here. They're not looking all that hot.
You just have to think about it, right? But I mean, for me, the ones that I've been focusing on are usually the ones that are tied to the Leafs. There's nobody. You look at the other teams there in the Eastern Conference. nobody really left for Montreal except for Petrie and Sherratt. And where's Sherratt going to go? I mean,
there's a big rumor that caught fire today that he got traded, like it's actually done, to the Leafs. And I just, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's not real. Like, that's a ridiculous. It was like a first round pick, Vietti Mettinen,
oh yeah,
and one other prospect. It wasn't Nick Robertson. I think it was somebody else. And it was Ben Sherratt, 50% retained. And I'm just like, nah, get out of here with that.
I'm not into it.
No, it doesn't feel right to me. Here's a look at the Eastern standings. I mean, we talked about, it's already pretty much decided who's making the playoffs in the East, as hard as that is to say, with 35 or so games left. Washington, Columbus isn't good enough to catch Washington, even if they go on a small heater. They're still not good enough overall. I just can't see it unless they decide that they want to add, but I don't see why you would. It's not the right time. I mean, look at this plus minus in terms of goal differential, Craig. So that's amount of goals for that they've scored against goals that they've let in. The top four are all plus 20 at least, which is solid. The bottom four are all red. They're all in the red.
Yeah.
So it's very divided. The other division is even worse. Look at this. Fifth place is minus 34. So it's like the East is settled. The West is where there's a lot of intrigue. And I'll point out the Central specifically because you got Winnipeg right here at 6th. That's not out of discussion catching Nashville. I mean, it's tough, and they're going to have an uphill battle. And I know you're shaking your head, but if they get Andrew Kopp back and all of a sudden they make one splashy move that I don't know who they would bring in. Maybe they go get Claude Giroux. I'm just saying things, but they
Andrew
could
Kopp to the Leafs.
Now we're talking something I like to hear. Andrew Kopp and Dylan DeMello. There's our move.
Throw in Brooks too. Come on now.
Yes, you're right. Adam Brooks, bring him back. I got the jersey hanging up on the wall here tonight. So the team I was really wanting to talk about, though, is Dallas, and that's where we saw Joe Pavelski's name come in. They are so close. They're right there for Nashville. Like, they're right there. And they're a team that, look at this, they're even. They're just a bit of a hot streak away from really being a solid team that makes a push. I was looking for their last 10 games. Hold on. There it is. 6-3-1. So, I mean, it's not bad. They've
bad.
gained some ground, whereas Minnesota and Nashville have been losing a few games. So it's like, man, maybe Dallas doesn't want to move Pavelski or Klingberg. Maybe they want to make a small push. I mean, it's so hard to know.
Yeah,
Clark, I'm getting word right now from Max. Max wants me to mention that Nashville's winning the whole damn thing. So sorry, just get a word from Max. Sorry.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
In fairness,
they need another banner to hang. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. In fairness, love what Nashville's done this year. Absolutely love it. The Pacific is just a wildfire, dumpster fire of a division. I mean, it's all over the map. We saw Anaheim kind of fall from grace. They were right up here a couple of weeks ago, and now they're down here. Vancouver was getting hot, but they've really stopped that. And they're trading everybody out. So San Jose is an interesting team.
What happens if Anaheim goes on a heater and Vegas, after making the Jack Eichel trade, does not make the playoffs?
Look at this. They're in 4th. I was trying to highlight their whole line. Nope, not happening. They're in 4th. After they were in 1st, literally 2 weeks ago, they were in 1st, and now they're in 4th.
I was going to say, is that what's happened? So where was Calgary? What did this look like 2 weeks ago? Because I know Calgary's just been insane. What did this look like 2 weeks ago?
Edmonton was out of the playoffs. Anaheim and Vegas were near the top. I think they were 1 and 2. LA was kind of 3-4-ish. Calgary was, they've almost done like this. Like they've pretty much flipped in the Pacific. And honestly, Craig, like look at the numbers, 68, and then down to 6 is 10 points difference. That could flip right back in like 2 more weeks. And that's the trade deadline, is 3 weeks away. So it's tough. The Pacific is a mystery, a literal mystery.
I think Edmonton misses. Ultimately, I think Anaheim gets in. Vegas, LA, and Calgary.
Yeah, I could see that. And this is, again, look at where LA is sitting. We just talked about this. Why not LA to make a splash? Why is LA not being talked about more? Sitting in 2nd in the Pacific, they could easily make 2 or 3. Look, I'll bring up their salary cap as well. Just give me a second here. I have to do this before I let you go, James. I know it's late.
No problem.
I'll let you go right away.
I think Dennis Bernstein would like us to stop talking about the LA Kings. He's a guy
Sorry,
who covers them for the fourth period, but a great guy. But you look at the what the LA Kings have done, draft capital, prospect capital. Obviously, if they're going to make a splash, they don't want everybody knowing about it or thinking about it. So
they have all of their draft picks available if they want to play around a little bit. And I mean, they have some contracts that they can trade. They can trade away a guy like Athanasiou. They can trade away certain guys to add more roster, manipulation. They have guys like Edler and Sean Walker on LTIR. They can do something, and I think LA is going to be a low key. They're going to be a low key banger when it comes to the trade deadline. I think they're going to do something cool. But you know what, James? Let's leave it there. Any last thoughts before we end the night here across the board? Because I think we're going to wrap it up on the show itself as well.
Yeah, I would just want to say, address Leaf Nation for a minute. Calm down. Take a break. Take a collective breath. The team is going into tonight. We were 1 point out of first in the Atlantic. The team's not losing too many games. There's some wild ones in there, some games that we blow in leads. I'd rather get it all out of the way now. Have this as your dress rehearsal before the playoffs. Enjoy this, though. The window right now is open. The window of victory is blowing through. Enjoy the breeze. Because we as Leaf fans know what that window feels like when it's closed. It's stuffy. It's moldy. It's gross. We don't like it. But hey, Clark and Craig, maybe you might know this too. Leafs Nation seems happier when that window is closed and we don't have good players. Because then everybody gets along. But right now, enjoy this. It's Matthews, it's Marner, it's Nylander, Tavares. Holy smokes, man. Teams would die for that. I went through a list today for John Tavares, by the way. All the teams he would lead in scoring. I saw that. He would lead 12 teams in scoring, be second place on 13 other teams.
More than half the league.
Wrong with John Tavares. And here's the thing. There's only 2 teams in the league. He would be down in 5th or 6th place in scoring. It's Toronto and Colorado. So those 2 teams obviously have what? Insane depth. If he's that good on all the other teams, but those 2 teams he's not, that speaks to how good the players are on those 2 squads. But nobody wants to look at that.
And that's why I put out that Kerfoot tweet the other day, and it's still getting some traction today. But he's 7th on the Maple Leafs in scoring, Craig, and he would lead 4 NHL teams in scoring. He's 7th on the list. And it's just like, I said this in a separate tweet, but I was like, man, I remember back in the mid 2000s, because that was kind of the median of my Leaf fandom is the mid 2000s, and you would die if Phil Kessel had 30 goals and 70 points. That would be a huge year. Yep. Wow, I can't believe Phil Kessel has 30 goals. That's amazing. Austin Matthews just got 30. What is he at? 36 goals now 37. In 45 games. Like,
yeah,
this is ridiculous. And yet, all I see is how I'm going to say, well, you know what? It's 9:30 my time. All I see is how shitty the Leafs are. And it's like, guys, this is a magical time to be a Leafs fan.
Just enjoy it.
Maybe they're a bit sloppy here and there, but man, is it fun. And nobody wants to have fun.
When they beat Carolina and it was a sound game, everybody's like, oh, this is the team. Then they go out and lay a stinker. It happens. Go back and look. I went through Tampa Bay's record and Florida's record. They've gone on 3-game losing streaks. By the way, the Florida Panthers just got blown out by the Ottawa Senators. Not too long ago, like literally a couple games ago. So it happens to good teams, folks. Just roll with it. At least the Leafs didn't blow their lead. They won 10-7. It was a Saturday night full of beers and entertainment. Enjoy it for what it is. It's entertainment. Be excited. It's not the playoffs. It's not do or die yet. Let the team just get back to where it needs to be, because they're still a point out of first place in the Atlantic.
Yeah. And Carlo Koliakovo said it best on Twitter the day after the 10-7 game and just said, can we just have fun with this one and stop ripping it apart? Can we just have fun with it? Like, it was ridiculous. Everything about it is ridiculous. Let's just have fun with this one and move on to the next one. And I said, thank you, Carlo. He got ripped. But I was like, yeah, honestly. Anyways, James,
all positive Leafs fans get ripped, man. Jesus, Murphy.
Let's leave it there for now because we have more coming up. We'll do it again before too long. Pump yourself up. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me at Offside Talk, whether it's TOK or Talk. You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and we just got the new website. It's www.offsidetalk.weebly.com. Go swing over there. My initial blog is up of why I'm such a positive Leaf fan. Maybe a good read for some of you, just to realize that there's a reason why people's fandom is the way it is. But yeah, Craig, great to see your smiling face. I know the Blue Jays are not coming back as of yet, but they will. Always follow your stuff. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Across the board, listening to what you do and say. Clark Monroe, host of the SquadCast or co-host or whatever you want to call yourself with you and Max. Always enjoy coming on and seeing you on the lives and stuff like that. So shout out to all of you. Keep grinding, keep hustling, and keep talking sports. Let's go.
Perfect. Thanks, James. Give us your best before you go. Give us your best Ric Flair send-off.
Woo!
There we go. James, love you, buddy. We'll talk again soon.
Cheers.
All right. There we go. James Roberts of Offside Hockey Talk, of course. Just a quick shout out to a few people over on TikTok, Craig. We got Captain Stubage, one of my new favorite people on this app. Great name. I call him Stoobs. Got to give a shout out to Stoobs. Janelle Barkman's hanging out over here. She hasn't been commenting a ton, but I see her in here. Janelle, I see you. You're in there hanging out. We got Sheridan
D434. So D434 say hello.
He's hanging out on YouTube right now. What a legendary lineup tonight. Everyone needs to stay calm. Yeah, exactly. There's Stoobs. He's making himself known over on TikTok. Thanks, buddy. So Craig, any last thoughts on anything? What's your last word to you?
Oh my goodness, no pressure there.
No.
Well,
before we get to last word, I want to hear your thoughts really quick. I know we have some basketball fans in here. How are the Raptors winning games right now? What's going on with the Raptors?
I came into the season a lot more optimistic than I think a lot of people were with the Raptors in particular, because I just thought the team defense could be next level, top tier.
Right.
It'd be a real problem for teams. Health has been an absolute nightmare. That was a TikTok joke I made about. Remember TikTok did at the end of the year all those year-end questions. What'd you learn in 2021? What was your this in 2021? One of them was, what was your best hair loss secret in 2021? And I said, hey, hello, got this. Watch the Toronto Blue Jays, because I've never seen injuries like this ever. And by the way, for good measure, the Toronto Raptors just picked that out. Like, it's just the most insane, flukiest, weirdest injuries, Clark, going on left, right, and center. So we still need the Raptors to have a return to health. Once that happens, I can tell you this for a fact. Every single team in the Eastern Conference playoffs is going to be grabbing the newspaper. Yeah, listen to me, date it right. Going online to see who their matchup is going to be in the first round, because I'll tell you for a fact, nobody wants to run into the Toronto Raptors in the first round of the playoffs. You may win that round. I don't think you will. I think the Raps will win. But anyway, but man, you will know you played a playoff series. It will be 6 or 7 games, and it will be, I was going to say it'll be a war. What a horrible choice of words for what's going on. But you know what I mean? Sports-wise, it'll be a war. You will not come out of that series unscathed. I don't know if you saw Jason Tatum the other day was on a podcast, and they asked him, what's your toughest time in the NBA? This is a star, Jason Tatum. And he said, man, I don't know if you guys remember a couple of years ago in the bubble, we played the Toronto Raptors in a playoff series. Forget about it. It was a 7-game series. I was dead to the world, exhausted every second of it. They run you ragged. So
right.
I'm still very hopeful for the Toronto Raptors that they can make noise, and the future is so bright. This core is energetic, locked in. They're together. Man, I'm very Toronto Raptor basketball and Toronto Blue Jay baseball. We should be very excited about both of these things, Clark. And it sounds like from what you and Offside are talking, we should be excited about Toronto Maple Leaf hockey too. By the way, it sounds like it. So good time. Good time.
Let's just in 30 seconds or less, we know Phoenix and Golden State and those types of teams are running the West still. Phoenix is actually, I love what they've done. I absolutely love the Phoenix Suns.
Wow.
In the East, though, it seems a bit more jumbled. There's not necessarily one team that's running away with it. I know Chicago is exciting. I know there's some teams that are exciting. They've made some moves, Philly and Brooklyn, and I know the Raptors just ran Brooklyn out of the building, but I think they were missing some guys.
So are the Raptors, though.
Well, sure. Yeah, exactly. Who in the East who has a shot in the East? Like, who's the team? Is it Milwaukee? Is it Chicago? Who is it?
So wide open. I couldn't agree with you more. And I hate to sit on the fence on an answer here, but the honest truth is it's so wide open. I keep seeing TikToks, back to TikTok, talking about one of Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philly. Oh my God, how am I missing the top 5 teams? Anyway, Chicago and Miami. Thank you. Those
Miami.
top 5 teams. One of them, people keep saying one of them will lose in the first round and have a devastated fan base. I'm here to tell you, throw the Toronto Raptors in there. I'm telling you, because 2 of those teams may be out in the first round. These are excellent teams, Clark, and multiple are going to be bounced in the first round. That's how competitive the East is. It's an absolute toss-up. I always find NBA playoffs are all about matchups. So I'll have a better answer for you once we see the actual grid itself, who's playing who. But my goodness, for a long time, I thought the Milwaukee Bucks were going to repeat. But they've come back to the pack, and the rest of the pack has come right up to them. The East used to be the laughingstock, Clark. The East used to be the joke. It is now, wow.
Yeah. Okay. Now, last word to you. End the night off. What are your either closing thoughts? Have you thought of something new since we talked about baseball? How do you want to end the night? What do you have? Last word to you.
I'll just plead with you guys, and I'm being so honest when I tell you, I get it. Oh, fantasy, like we're going to follow your fantasy team. Guys, check us out on Wheat Sox, UFLB. We want to enjoy this ride with you. This is fantasy baseball like you've never seen before. But Craig, we're not part of the team. Well, then you must just be meeting Clark and I for the first time, because if you're showing us love, you're darn right you're part of the team. You're darn right you're part of the team. So please, we would love your support on that, guys. We're having a lot of fun with it. We would love your support. And if you like Clark's regular co-host more than me, who can blame you, Max Ritzy, he's knee-deep involved in this too, guys. So I'd love to see some Wheat Sox love, not just for us. Again, Clark, am I telling tales here? We want the interaction with the people for this. We want to be the people's team. Hey, is that the way to put it? We want to be the people's team.
The people's team. Yeah. Perfect. I love it. We'll put it in the bio after the show's over. One thing that I will mention, if anybody, I know Sheridan, I know your ears are perking up here. I know some other people have been listening throughout the night. We will be live streaming portions, if not most of our draft on Saturday, at least Saturday. And you know what? Maybe we'll ask for some input throughout the day. It's going to be 11 a.m. Central Time until I don't know when. Honestly, I'm not sure. So if you're in Saskatchewan, 11 a.m., we probably won't live stream the first round a whole lot, but we might go on like Instagram Live for a little bit. So follow our Instagram page. But I know Max has some content. He told me, Craig, he has a content storyboard for the entire draft. So we'll see what Max has up his sleeve. He's kind of the guru when it comes to that stuff.
So I love Max, Clark, but I'm picturing that meme from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Charlie at the board with all. Yeah. That's what I'm picturing. Yeah. Exactly. That's it. It.
Yeah, so we'll have some fun, and Craig, you're going to be on a video chat with us throughout the day as well. So you're going to be. Do you watch How I Met Your Mother?
No, sir.
No? Okay, I'm trying to think of another show where there's a character who's on a video chat and they like attach him to a body and he like drives around the room and stuff like that. That's going to be you.
Sheldon did that in Big Bang Theory, and Phil Dunphy had to do that in an episode of Modern Family. So I think I'm with you.
Perfect. You get the idea. That's going to be you on Saturday. Yeah. You're going to be our detached body of a video call. So we're going to have some fun. It's going to be a great time, and I just can't wait to see how the draft goes and where guys land up. But make sure you follow along.
And we'll be drafting with our head, but we will be trying to land a Blue Jay, right, Clark? Like, hey, our heart is going to come into this, I think.
Yeah. Sheridan says, I just want to see the War Room. You will. I'll probably be live on my own TikTok because that's the only TikTok place. Well, your TikTok, I guess, too. But between the two of us, me and Craig might go live for a little while. We'll have to see how it all kind of shakes down. We might just kind of play it by ear and just go live for chunks at a time. Who knows? So make sure you clear your Saturday, because we might be having some fun with some baseball talk, actual baseball talk.
Do you believe it?
I can't wait. Craig, we'll call it a night here. Thank you for gracing me with your co-hosting skills. We went longer than I know you expected to, but I'm glad you stuck around with me. So thank you for that. We'll do this again soon. For everybody watching, I know it's been a long night, so thank you for sticking around. If you have, we'll see you again next Tuesday. If I can, our guest next Tuesday is none other than Bar Down's Luca Celebre. Luca Celebre is going to be joining us from Bar Down on TSN. So super pumped about that. He put out a hot take about Mitch Marner on Twitter the other day. Max was super upset about it. So I tweeted about it, and Luca said, yeah, I'll come on your show and talk about it. So Luca's going to come on next week, and then maybe special guest that is to be named later. But for reference, we almost had Ross Stripling tonight. Maybe it'll happen next week. We'll see. But stay tuned for that, and we'll see you again next week. Shout out to our sponsors at IKS Media, Great Western Brewery, Original 16 Brewery, Hooplife Basketball. It's a long night. Hooplife Basketball, and RBI Baseball and Softball Training here in Regina. All of our good friends. I have to give them a shout out. And we will see you again 1 week from today. Bye for now.